be Kachuk. It's
Oh,
what
come
Tommaso
on,
just
man.
said. He's
No
not.
way.
He's not gonna finish 100 hits. He's not gonna fight every opportunity he gets. He's not gonna be a pest. Like he's not
Maybe
ready.
Anders Lee. Anders Lee for the Islanders.
Okay.
Maybe a more realistic option.
Okay.
Anders Lee is like, like he's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
big
yeah.
guy,
I can see it. And
power play guy.
yeah, I like it.
Like that to me is like a, speaking of Islanders, they're winning
6'3".
1-0.
Winning.
Yeah, I saw.
He's
So wait,
6'3".
6'3"?
Yeah, Andersley is 6'3".
Yeah, he's
Oh, he's.
no Knies
man.
is 6'3" as
I
well.
thought you
isn't
said the Islanders are winning 6-3.
No,
I'm like,
no.
How did they score
Islanders are winning 1-0.
No.
Giancarlo almost had a heart attack.
I'm looking
Yeah.
at. Hi, and welcome to the show. This episode, we talk about body checking and how it seems to be a dying art in today's version of the NHL. We also discuss whether a good coach makes a good team, or if it's the players that make more of a difference in the end. And lastly, we discuss the current playoff race for a variety of teams, including Toronto, as they look to add an NCAA superstar to their mix. Does body checking have a place in the game today? And why do clean hits always result in a fight? Does a good team need a good coach? And why does it seem so hard for a coach to win Stanley Cup with more than one team in the modern era? Can NCAA star Matthew Knies make an immediate impact with the Maple Leafs during this crucial playoff run? Or do people have to lower their expectations for this prospect? We're back and ready to share our views and opinions for anybody that wants to listen. So please, take a load off, relax, and welcome to Hockey for Fanatics. I was telling Giancarlo I just saw Michael Pizzetta fight Tom Wilson.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
how'd it go?
Well, he's alive, so that
That's a win. So
Yeah.
that's a win.
Hey, he walked away. I'd be thrilled. Like I'd be thrilled if I were him. He didn't die. So I mean Wilson got
That
the
is
decision.
funny.
But yeah, he is alive.
If that's not the ultimate description of fighting Tom Wilson, he's alive. That's amazing.
It's true. Like I mean, it
I
wasn't
know.
like a knockout where he's dead or anything on the ice. Like Wilson won, I would say by decision. And he's not picking up his teeth off the ice. So that's a win, like Dave said.
That's what I used to think about when you'd fight Chara. Like Tom Wilson I don't think he's up there. Like he's a good fighter and stuff, but he doesn't have that. Like you fight Chara, you just pray to God you're just
That's true.
not getting carried off the ice.
That's true.
He was just ridiculous. That guy was the worst.
I don't think many guys fought Chara. I think
Yeah, I don't think he's not that much.
No, LaRock has gone on record saying that Chara was afraid of him, but whatever.
Well,
I can't see him being afraid of anyone.
Yeah.
The guy fought bears for Christ's sake.
I don't think he would want to fight though. I think that's probably why. Like when you're that big, they're expecting you to be the guy to do something, I guess.
Yep.
But he would.
Yep.
He would step in when he needed to. But he never really had I would say a toe-to-toe fight with anybody that's big enough to take him on. And Chris Neal did pretty well against him, I think, when they fought. And Chris Neal's not a big
Speaking of fighting, here's Lafferty getting filled in.
Who are they playing again? Detroit? Is it
Boston?
Detroit? Oh, that's right. I forgot it's Boston. Detroit is again.
Somebody actually hit somebody. Lafferty hit someone, and God forbid you hit someone in this league now. So automatically he's got to respond, and there's a fight.
hit from a side.
How do you guys from behind? How do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about that? With when you when you hit someone, you got to fight. What do you think of that?
Fake. It's fake.
It's fake. What do you mean by that, Dave?
What do you pretending that you're standing up for your teammate? It's a hit. It's a clean hit, man. I'm okay with clean hits. I'm not okay with going after one of the superstars or a dirty hit.
Mm-hmm.
The hitting's already out of the game pretty much. So what are we saying? No hitting anymore?
Exactly. I have a problem with there's almost there's two sides of the story, right? If a guy hits a Leaf and no one responds,
Mm-hmm.
Leafs are soft, Leafs are
Right.
joke, Leafs are this, Leafs are that. But then when people do respond, it's like, why is there
Why are they
fighting after the
fighting?
hit?
Yep.
So, you know what I mean? I think we need to come back to reality, and you need a little bit of both. It's okay to hit, like Dave said, but if you take a shot at a superstar, or you take a shot at your teammate,
Or a
there
goalie.
needs, yeah, a goalie. Goalie's the goalie's number one thing
That's
you have
where
to
most
protect.
Leaf fans have been upset in the past, is that they've hit Matthews, they've hit the goalie, and there's no
Mhm.
response. They hit Tavares, it punched Tavares in the face, no response. You want to go hit Lafferty? Big deal. No one's gonna say anything. Hit Hall. Some people might actually clap, but seriously, like, do you really
Dave,
have to
I'll be
fight
ordering a pizza if that happens.
Well, we're
No,
on this podcast, we made light to that time. You guys remember when everyone was just looking up in the air from the
Yeah.
Leafs?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
we literally made light of this
Well,
situation.
you don't have to
right?
fight though. Like I don't think you have to fight, but you gotta. I
pick a
guess.
number, man.
Yeah.
Pick a number.
Yeah. I guess I get, and I think it's okay to get into a scrum. That's what I
Yes.
think. I think it's okay to say, hey, cut that out, cut that shit out. That's not acceptable or whatever.
Get
Or
in his face.
just get in his
Make him
face.
say something.
Exactly. Get in his face. It doesn't have to be a fight where you drop the gloves. But I hear what you're saying, Tommaso. It's like a bit of a double standard. So I'm still,
Yeah. hmm
I don't know if I would say I'm completely decided on this topic personally, because I'm exactly like you said. If that happens to my team, I guess the way I look at it is I don't mind. I really don't. If you hit somebody, if one of your players gets hit, you really want someone to stand up for you. But I guess it comes down to how dirty the hit is, right?
Yeah.
If the hit's dirty,
But
yeah, absolutely, fight. But
but the problem is these things are split second decisions, right?
mhm,
Like you're on the ice, you see someone go down, you don't have the best angle, but all you know is your guy's hurt,
yeah, true.
right?
Not
So
even
you
hurt.
automatically
He left his feet or whatever.
yeah,
He's not on his
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm exactly like you, 100%.
Like
Like
if I see
it's
my teammate knock
I could
out
go both
cold,
ways.
like if I see my teammate knock
Yeah,
out cold, then you're like, okay, I see that response. It's almost like the response needs to equal what occurred, right? Like if it's a regular hit, do you really have to fight? I think that's what we're kind of coming down to, where we don't like to see the instant fights, no matter what the severity of the hit is.
for sure.
Yeah.
So this is the way you deal with it, okay? So this situation is perfect. The Leaf Lafferty drilled the Buffalo defenseman into the corner. It looked kind of dirty, but it wasn't. And then the Boston guy came running in, and a fight ensues. This is when you need to bring in the instigator rule. You
Yeah.
you have it, do it for Christ's sake.
Mhm.
Like I don't understand why it's not called. That guy instigated the fight. Should be the one getting the extra 2 minutes. That's it. If you want to continue this,
It's a good point.
I
you're
think that's
good.
a great point because, okay, I mean, I saw the play because it happened. So it was a bang bang play. It was kind of from the side. He went in a little awkwardly. So it's like you make that this split decision thinking he hit him from behind, you think, right? So you get in there. That's kind of borderline. If it's a clean hit and you want to fight, I agree 100% that should be an instigator penalty. Why not? That'll
Yep.
get rid of these phony fights for real. Like, come on. Hitting is an amazing part of the game. And you want to take it out by if you want to hit my guy, you're gonna have to drop the gloves too. Like, this is stupid now. It's getting really stupid.
And we see hitting like disappearing. Like how many guys hit now? I don't even see finishing their checks as much. How many guys
I
hit
know.
now?
Now they kind of rub against the boards as a hit. They really, I mean, they count anything as a hit now because it's so low.
But wait to the playoffs. Playoffs, you'll see a different animal. Like you'll see everything completely change once you go into the playoffs. Everybody hits.
How do you
Doesn't
do
matter
that
who
though?
you are.
I understand. I hear you loud and clear, but how do guys do that? How do you turn it on? Like that?
Well,
To
it's
me
a
it
different
amazes me.
battle, right? Like, because your body takes a beating, even
Yeah.
if you're not the one taking the hit. Giving a hit also is wear and tear on your body, right?
Mhm.
So in the playoffs, you're in the playoffs. There's no time for preserving your body. Just hit everything
Yeah.
that moves.
Well, it becomes a tactic, right? Like you're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? you hit Kucherov and Hedman
Every shift.
every bloody
Every
shift,
shift.
and
Yep.
eventually that will
It
take
wears them
its
down.
toll on them.
In a
Yeah,
7-game
and that's it.
series, yeah, it's an investment. It's an
That's
investment.
all it is, man.
Yep. Every single shift. You're right. That's what you should do. I said it before, even when you're playing Chara. You hit Chara. I know that sounds like suicide, but you go after Chara every shift. And it does add up, man. That guy's a big guy too, right? Like it's gonna
Mhm.
hurt. He's a human being. I'm not saying he's a mutant or anything. He doesn't feel pain. A 7-game series, if you got a couple guys dumping the puck into his corner and crashing that corner, that's gonna add up. So that's totally with you there. Like those are
For
investments,
sure.
and that's what you should be doing when you see defensemen like Hedman that are such keys to their team, right? Without
Well,
Hedman, I don't think Tampa's the same team.
well, not even Sergachev's hurt too. I heard he's day to day, so they're not the same team. They're just not. I think they're starting to play a little bit dirty, that desperate style. I don't know if it's going to continue in the playoffs, but
Oh, it will.
Oh,
no.
last
But
night
I'm
was
just saying
crazy. Last night was
they have a
crazy against the
different.
Rangers.
Yeah, to me they look different, man. I don't care they could still beat the Leafs, sure they can, but they're not as scary as they were.
Their vulnerability is, like we said here in this podcast many times, their defense. Their defense, they just don't have the cap room to have that extra guy, which was Ryan McDonough, right? Like that, you add McDonough on this defense, and we're not talking about vulnerability anymore on this defense.
That's true.
So it's huge. I think if you have a weakness, it's that you just pound them, look for turnovers, and they'll come.
I think
Right?
the
So just
speed. I think the speed is also something they lack. I think the Leafs.
for
That's
sure.
that's how the Leafs have to beat them. You got to be faster than them. There were times last year in that series where the Leafs just looked way quicker than Tampa. Tampa looked like they were skating in quicksand for the first couple of games in the series, and they ended up regrouping and looking better in the last half of the series when things changed. Like you said, they started to keep the Leafs to the perimeter. But that team
Yeah,
speed is what the Leafs need to exploit. Like you really got to play lights out offensively,
for
and
sure.
you just got to play fast hockey. Like, it's almost like you got to be a half a step ahead of them every time.
Yeah.
And the Devils are going to need to do the same thing against the Rangers. If we were just talking about this the other day, Rangers are going to play that strong hockey game, that hitting, that everything's going to be going. You can't play their game. You just got to keep your game, and that's the only way New Jersey is going to win, because they remind me a lot of the Leafs, right? Like this is going to be their moment in the sun. Now they're going to be able to show the world, okay, can we play this game in the playoffs? Because it looks good in the regular season. We've all seen it, right?
Hmm.
That type of game can be done in the regular season. Come playoff time,
Yeah.
when you have no space to move, you can't do the pretty plays. You don't have room to burst out and have these beautiful like outreach passes. Nothing. Those don't exist in
Yeah,
the
you
playoffs.
don't get that space. I've said it before,
So
and I'll say it
let's see
again.
what you can do now.
No, I say there's two things about that series which are going to intrigue me, and that's, like you mentioned, the speed. And the Rangers are not good when a team is going on a rush versus them. So I want to keep an eye on that. And secondly, is the difference between what I've seen, the games I've seen New Jersey play compared to the Leafs, because I know we talk about skill, the
Mhm.
youth they used to have. It's very similar, but one thing that they do, I notice that they forecheck pretty well. They're relentless on the forecheck. Like they get on you, and they'll take you out of the play. They don't just skate
Yeah, they
after
will.
you. You know what I mean? They don't just skate into the zone and then the other team quickly takes it out and that's it. The rush is over, unless they want to carry it in if there's time. But that's the one thing I've noticed from them. I don't know if it's a Lindy Ruff thing, but he's got them going, and that's what I want to see. It's two different types of teams. Like you need the Rangers and the Devils are two different teams, and it's good that it's a rivalry, so it's going to be a great series.
Is that a done
I just
deal,
hope
that
it's.
series, though, or are they still up in the
I
air?
think it's like 90% done. I mean,
Yeah, Carolina's got too
Carolina.
many points.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Carolina's got to lose 2 or 3 of their last 4 games. I think so. I don't know. I want to see New Jersey and New York. I mean, I think it'd be a great series. I mean, I think there might be more Ranger fans in New Jersey, but we'll see. They invade that arena.
Yeah, it's nice
It's
to
almost
see
like
new teams get in there, right? New Jersey hasn't been in the playoffs for a while. I don't know. I like seeing new blood in the playoffs. It's not the
So do
same old
I.
stuff.
Yeah.
Washington missed for the first time in forever, right?
I
So,
think they're going to be missing a lot
oh
between
yeah.
Pittsburgh and Washington. I think that era is done. I don't know. Maybe Giancarlo wants to weigh in, but I think that's it for those two.
I don't know, the Washington era is definitely done, but I mean, if Axel has anything to say about it, then sure, yeah, the Penguins era is done too. Just put a fork in it.
Come on, are you that? Is it over? That bad? Like you need so in order for you to
As my
get.
whole time being a Penguins fan, I've never seen my fan base hate a GM as much as we all
Yeah,
hate
I don't want to
Axel.
say okay. So you said so you hate him too. You're done with this guy. That's it. This guy can't redeem himself at all for you.
No, I mean, I didn't have him at the beginning when he was hired. I didn't have high hopes. I was actually very pissed off when they hired him and chose to go with him. But, obviously I don't have a say in the matter, so I accepted it. But now it's like, forget it. Like, you don't even want to watch the team play because you know it's a
It's
product
never
of Axel.
it's never a good place. I know exactly where you've been or where you are right now. I know that I may sound stupid saying this, but I'll say it. I
We
don't care.
all have, my
Well,
friend.
well, it's yeah, but when Montreal had Bergevin, Dave could probably vouch for this because I used to talk to him every day at work about this. When that philosophy, when you see what the guy's doing and you don't agree with it, that's really hard to cheer for a team. And I know that we're fans and we don't have any control over the situation. And you're just like, shut up and be a fan and cheer. But I'm not that type of fan, you
No
know?
way.
Yeah. Like I need my team. I need to see a little bit of what I think is important to win. Because the way I see it is I've been a hockey fan for a long time. I see tons of regime changes over the years. These guys don't know all the GMs that came before them and all the different systems that they tried and all the philosophies they tried, but I have. You know what I mean? And it's like at some
Yeah.
point you start to see, okay, this team needs this. We can't be small anymore, or we can't do this anymore, or we need more talent, or you can't.
Or we need a goalie.
Well,
Yeah.
in Montreal's case, it was they had Carey Price, but they didn't put the team in front of him that he needed. The guy needed help. So it's the same thing, different circumstances, but at the end of the day, you really have to have that trust in the GM that guy is going to get it done. And when you lose that trust, man, it sucks. Like it's not a good feeling. So Giancarlo, I feel for you, especially
Yeah,
because
it's
this is like the twilight of Crosby's kind of career. So
The
well,
good
yeah, like
news for you,
you don't want to see that happen to one of the best players, maybe the best player of all time, right? Like you don't want to see him waste these last couple of years. He's healthy too, and he's playing great. But you know what? You don't know what it's going to be like next year. You don't know what it's going to be like in 2 years. Like they might miss the whole year, him and Gino. But they're
Yep.
healthy right now, and they're playing high level hockey. And this was the year that they needed to go all in more than ever because of those reasons. And I don't know, Hextall's let them down. They let the team down. They've let their fans down.
But the good news, Giancarlo, is I think this is it for you. Like after this season, you won't need to deal with Hextall anymore. I have a feeling he's going to be. You can't bring him back after the season that they had. You know that record that they have was 17 seasons of going to the playoffs.
yeah, but they're
And
not out yet, technically.
Oh,
no,
but
but
if he breaks that, there's no way in hell that he's back. I think a lot more than just him is out. You don't break a 17-year streak and
yeah,
no punishment.
they need a miracle to like not only just make the playoffs but win a round,
Hmm.
because if they just get knocked out in 5 games, I don't think that makes a difference.
No,
I think
Hextall's
he's
still
still gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
him and Sullivan are probably both gone.
which for Sullivan, he gets picked up the next day.
Oh yeah,
Like if I'm a
absolutely.
Toronto Maple Leaf, like the new manager coming in when Duvas is fired, I'm picking up Sullivan like immediately. As soon as I see he's fired, I'm sending out a phone call and saying, "Come
I
play
wouldn't.
for this team."
You
The
wouldn't?
Why?
only thing with Sullivan is I think he has another 3 years after this year, like because he just
Yeah,
signed
but
a
that
new
doesn't matter.
contract.
Someone else signs him, and you're off the hook. You don't have to worry about that.
That's the way it works, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Is it?
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
You sure? Because
yeah, it's-
Babcock was getting paid all these. Because
Yeah,
he didn't get signed.
That's right. That's
Getting
right.
signed.
Yeah, he's not anywhere
Okay, I
else.
see.
He's not getting paid
Yeah, then-
anywhere. Yeah.
It doesn't matter then because, like Tommaso said, he'll get picked up the next day. There'll be people waiting to
Oh
sign
yeah,
him.
guaranteed.
He's a fantastic young coach.
Dave, you
So,
said
very
no.
good
Why?
coach.
You said no to Sullivan. Why?
I mean, I'm a believer in the. I mean, I look at stats sometimes in terms of when I think of a coach who's. I've told you before, Mike, years ago. I haven't seen a coach win with two different teams
Yeah.
other than Scotty Bowman, and that
It's
guy
not
coached
easy to do it.
amazing teams, right?
Yep.
That's almost like a different era. He won with the Habs in the '70s and the Pens with Lemieux, and then with Detroit, right? He had
Mhm.
fucking Hall of Fame teams.
Yeah, he did. In both of those cases, he did. Yeah.
Um,
All of
but
those
I'm gonna be.
cases.
I don't like that. I mean, go through the list. No one's won in the modern era on two teams. I could say, well, big deal. That it could happen. But I don't know. I'm a believer. It's not easy to win a cup.
It isn't.
And then
It's
you're
an
gonna try and win with
interesting.
two teams.
It's an
How is
interesting
it
stat.
no
Yeah.
one's had success anywhere else? Like after they've won, whether
Ah,
it's. I know, but
I'd rather look at it. If you're gonna put someone in the position like that's that important, a coach, you want experience, you got leadership. The guy's won it all.
Yeah.
He's done it. Like, I'd
Oh,
rather
I
have
know,
him
but
than
okay,
Sheldon
but name
Keefe.
up. Go through the modern era and think of all the
Yeah.
coaches that have won. They've gone to other teams. They've never won again.
You're right, Dave. But
If
what does that tell you, though? It's okay. So what does that tell you?
I think it goes
What do we
back to what you're saying
deduce?
about having the right culture. A
Trotz
lot
won.
of
Trotz
things
won a
have to.
cup.
Who?
Trotz won a cup from
Okay, but has he won anywhere else?
No, but like he came from other teams and he went to Washington and he won.
I know, but
Right?
I'm saying, but he
No,
never won
Trotz,
before.
Trotz didn't win in Nashville. He was a coach in Nashville.
Washington.
No, but what Dave is saying that no coach has
Won
won a
twice
cup on.
with different
It doesn't
teams.
matter.
But there's a reason for that.
first
If you
team.
won the cup, you don't leave usually. They
Well-
keep you around, right?
Well,
Not really, but go through the teams, guys.
true.
Whether it's
It's true.
Tortorella, whether it's Babcock, you go through
Yeah,
the list of
It's
all
true.
these coaches that have won. Pat Burns,
Laviolette.
they've only won
yeah,
once.
same
It's not
thing.
easy, man.
It's true. It's
It's
not.
not
But,
easy.
but
I think a lot of times you get to know the coach's system. A lot of that's why
I
I
think
don't like. I liked when they brought Keefe in. It was new blood. It was someone that maybe other teams had to get adjusted to his way of playing. And I don't know. I like having fresh blood sometimes
It's
instead
true.
of rehashing the old guys over and over.
I'm a believer
Sure.
that the team it's more the players than it is the coach. I think. Like I think that John Cooper is a great coach, but I don't think John Cooper wins Stanley Cups with Montreal or whoever else. So that's what I mean when I say John Cooper is a good coach, but it's the team. It's the team more than anything else.
Yeah.
So you need
John
the
Cooper's a
players
good
first.
coach,
You need that.
for
He
sure.
is a great coach, but you need the players.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't care how good of a coach you are. Like I think Mike Babcock was the guy back when he was in Anaheim back in the day, where he did it with smoke and mirrors, right? I think Steve Thomas was on that playoff run. Steve Ruchin. I think Steve Ruchin was there too, and he had another amazing playoff. And you're like, who are these guys? And he ended up losing. He lost in the final, and then he ended up getting picked up by
Jaguar
Detroit.
helped him a lot.
Yeah.
He had Jaguar that went nuts for him, right?
Well,
Like you guys always say, show
yeah.
me a good goalie.
Yeah, and it's both. It's mutual. It's both, right? The coach, and that's why I always said, and I said this to you before, Dave, many times. I think a good coach is like, okay, what cards do I have in my employ, and I'm going to get the best I can out of the guys I got, so that I can put a winning team on the ice, so that I can have a chance to win. You're not going to turn a guy like James Van Riemsdyk into a back checker or a shot blocker. Same thing with Phil Kessel. You got to use those guys to their abilities to win. Just like when you have the guys that aren't going to score 50, 60 goals, you're going to be like, okay, I can't outgun these guys. I got to play defense against these guys. You got to play a little bit gritty, right? And that's what good coaches do, I think. So I think it's more like the coach. It's really hard to win, man, at the end of the day. It's not easy to win, and you need the personnel to win, first and foremost. I think I'll take a good team any day over a good coach myself, because I think a good team is just a good coach away from winning. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I think that's well put. I mean, it's great to have a good coach. Don't get me wrong. Like we've seen Paul Maurice, he's a horrible coach.
Yeah,
Like
good
he
example.
he may have
Good example.
cost Winnipeg a cup, right? So I think a lot of things have to work for a team to win a cup. We know this already. It's not easy to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
It's not. Of all sports, it's the hardest cup to win. It's very rare the number one ranked team goes right through easily, right? So there's a reason why coaches don't win with multiple teams. I really do. I really think there are.
Like one team that I always talk about that I think is better than they're showing is Ottawa. And I know that Ottawa is in a tough division and maybe it's still a little bit early for them. But
That's
I
a good
think
point. But Mike, they don't have a goalie, Mike. Remember
They
we
do
said
have a goalie. They have a goalie. They've just been starting the wrong guy all year. If these guys would listen to the
No,
podcast, I
but-
gave the perfect advice at the beginning of the year.
Oh, look at the goalie they traded Minis is going nuts right now.
I also said that was terrible, but I also didn't like when
Yes,
Pittsburgh
yes, you
traded him.
did.
But you
Yeah.
know what's funny is though, everyone in Ottawa wants to fire DJ Smith.
they should though.
So
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
the funny thing that you bring up Ottawa because they hate DJ Smith.
But
Because
why is that? Because I know
So-
Mike's been on him, but what's the
you know
reason
why?
they don't like?
It's because of that whole thing that we talk about stubbornness. Like every coach is like that. Like every time I hear this, the more and more, it's like
It's the same
we used
everywhere.
to hate Babcock because they're stubborn and they have their guys and they
Mhm.
refuse to do this, they refuse to do that. You know what? They're all like that.
Yep.
Every single coach is like that. They
Oh,
have
yeah.
their guys and they refuse to adjust and to adapt and to try new things. Like for me, the biggest thing that I don't like about Keith is inability to develop players. And for me, I think a coach in today's era, Salary Cap era, that is the most essential thing you can do.
Mm.
If you can't develop young talent, you failed. And
So
that's the thing.
give me
with
an
him.
example. Give us an example.
So give me an example of a young player that he's done well with. Like it's always the guys that
But
we've
name
had
some young.
forever.
Are you
Well,
saying
name
other
some young
coaches?
players.
Sandin and Robertson, those guys are young guys that have come up, and he screwed with their development. He's messed with them. He hasn't given them opportunities. Like Sandin came up and he's buried them on the bottom, the third pairing. Sandin moved on to Washington, was actually given minutes, given opportunity on the power play. He's flourished. Liljegren has had a fantastic season, and due to obviously like he's had playing time because of minutes, because a lot of injuries have happened with the Leafs, and now all of a sudden the guy's had been primarily your second best defenseman all year. Now you've reduced his minutes completely, and now you're sitting him every time he has like a bad game, and now he's lost his confidence.
Mhm, mhm.
Another young guy he's destroying completely. Nick Robertson came out of camp, their best player. He was fantastic. What do? They send him to the AHL because of contract stuff. That's a whole other thing. And then you bring him up again and you play him on the fourth line with like 7-8 minutes a game. Like it's just poor coaching.
Well, if I can jump in, I gotta jump in
these
because
guys,
then
you're not done.
okay, so the three guys you mentioned, two of them get pushed around way too much. When you're in an all-win season, you can't play these guys. There's a reason why Sandin was moved out. There's a reason why Robertson's always hurt. These guys are just too small.
Okay, then what about
And with
Marchment?
Liljegren, I think
was never given a chance, right? Like
you know
that's
how I feel about Marchment, but I don't think that's Keith's fault. That was
No.
Dubas.
no, but
um,
he never was. He was up with the Leafs, but he was
He played
never
like 4
given
games,
minutes.
but he played 4 games under Babcock. I'm pretty sure it was under Babcock.
Yeah, I don't remember
I
it
don't
being
even-
there.
Maybe.
I can tell
But
you
even
straight up.
either way, back to Liljegren, he started off well, but I don't know if it's because he lost his buddies, his Swedish buddies, and Engvall and Sandin, but
No.
he's lost all his confidence. He
It
looks
happens.
lost out there. I know that
Dave,
happens, but
you gotta remember, if you're a young player, especially,
Yeah.
like you're gonna make mistakes. There's no
course
such
you
thing.
are.
But that's the thing. Like Riley will make a mistake every single game. Every single game.
it's
No
just-
accountability, no nothing, no repercussion. Here you go, have your cookie on the power play. No
Not
matter
at all.
what
I
he
agree.
does.
I don't like the way he treats his core with kid gloves.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying you got to go out there and fucking rip them apart, but I mean, when that time he did sit Marner for one fucking shift, and
Yeah, to
Marner took off
apologize.
on the bench.
Yeah.
Come on, Marner leaves the bench slamming his stick like, buddy, you're in a game. Sit a shift. Shut up. You messed up. Do your job. You don't have to go
Yep.
cry about it. That's what worries me about this team. That they're not Marchands. They're not McKinnons. They don't have that drive. That Crosby drive. They don't have that. I don't think they ever will have that. That's why it's tough to cheer and know that they're going to go far, because deep down we know they're not. When push comes to, look at now, like as the games get tighter, guys like Nylander are disappearing. Marner hasn't had any points in a while now. I think he's still stuck at like
that's
95.
that's a perfect example, okay, about coaching. Willie Nylander was playing fantastic hockey with Matthews. What did he do? He drops him to the third line. You're playing Willie Nylander with who? Like you're playing with Lafferty and Yarncroc. Those were his line mates. That's exactly when his season started turning in terms of points. So he accommodates Tavares because $11 million elite center needs other superstars for him to play well. Like
that's
that
a
makes
joke.
sense to me. I don't understand. Like it's crazy. But then a guy like Willie Nylander, it's okay. I want him to drive his own line. Like listen to this coach. I want him to drive his own line. But then $11 million captain, who's supposed to be an elite center in this league, he can't bring up two other players. He
He's
can't
not
make
elite.
them better.
He's not elite anymore. His time passed.
Help me make this make sense to me. And then Austin Matthews, your 70-goal scorer, like you're not giving him anything. Like he had Bunting and Yarncroc the past couple of games. I'm sorry, this coach is just dumb.
Some
His
coaches,
job's
power
on the line
plays.
too. His
He's
job
so
is on the
terrible.
line too.
it's true. And some coaches, I'm trying to think of other coaches that are able to do it. Like I think the only one I could think of is like Brindamore. So they brought in a guy like Seth Jarvis, and this is a kid that,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not Jarvis isn't a top 6 player yet, but I think he will be. And they're bringing him along, and I think he's got like 15 goals or something this year. He's got some potential, but in other words, he's playing, right? And he's being given assignments that he can succeed at. It's not like he's being told to carry a line offensively, right? So they have other guys ahead of him that are on the depth chart that are doing that part for him, but he's got to go in and chip in. So rather than having a Kerfoot on your team, a Seth Jarvis that's making, you know what I mean, entry level money
Yeah,
would
exactly.
be a guy that you would want to see on that team. And it's okay. And if you're going to pick Kerfoot, I keep picking on Kerfoot, but if you're going to put Kerfoot on your team, that guy better be giving you a competitive advantage. That's all I'm saying, right?
100%.
So I'm with
you. Hit it right on money.
Yeah, so I'm with you when you say like coach has to it's I don't know if development's the word, but it needs to be you need to be aligned with your GM too, because the GM's got to be like, okay, this is our salary situation. We're going to need to spend a little bit more on this position, and that means we're going to be a little bit lighter on this position, which means we need to bring in an entry level player here. Are we okay with that? Do we have enough guys that can play that role internally in that in that position? So
Yep.
it really requires a lot of cohesion between the GM and the coach to talk about that. Keith, for me as a coach, the one concern that I have with him is when it comes to the playoffs, adjustments in the playoffs are huge. They're huge. And when he played against the Canadians, when he coached against the Canadians, he had plan A essentially every single game. It's hard to criticize because they looked so great in the first 3 or 4 games of that series, and then everything just fell apart, and he was reluctant to change anything because he was like, "Oh, it's gonna turn around. It's gonna turn around." He never split up Marner and Matthews. They played together the whole series. The Dano line was doing a number on them, and Price was lights out, and that ended up being their demise. You need to be able to adjust as a coach.
Exactly.
Last year against Tampa, I think I said this before. They started the series great when he talked about being a war is whatever, and he had Simmons and Clifford there, and they started to run people, and then it changed after that. He took those guys out of the lineup, and as soon as those guys left the lineup, I saw Tampa start to take over. I know that people don't like that because they're saying, "Oh, what's Simmons gonna do? What's Clifford gonna do?" I'm telling you, those guys made a difference. They did, and again, that coach adjusted in the wrong way. That adjustment didn't work, and you
He
really gotta have,
panics.
yeah, you
He
gotta have,
panics and he has no confidence in his own plan.
yeah,
Like they did the Willie Nylander first line with Matthews, Marner, and Tavares having 2 scoring threats. They were like running the table in November. They played Boston, the first real game. They played Boston. Boston smoked them. Not even the first period, and Marner's right back with Matthews. And now they have no scoring depth anymore.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you put Marner with Matthews, that's it. This team has.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Those guys should be playing together in order to keep a team off balance, never all the time. They should be playing on
Yeah.
separate lines all the time because those guys are so
Yeah.
good. Marner can play with anybody. He could bank a puck off a garbage can and score. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Like, why do you need Austin Matthews to finish those plays? Come on.
But this goes back to what you guys are saying about Tavares. Like, he needs help. He doesn't drive a line. Marner's really the only guy who drives a line. Like, even Matthews needs him, right? And I'm not saying he's better than Matthews, but I'm saying Marner can play on any line.
Oh,
But
he
it seems
makes
like
everybody
a lot
better.
of these,
Yeah,
yeah, because but again, in the playoffs, it's different. We're going to see in the playoffs because we know it's two different types of hockey. It just is.
it is.
And it's getting to the point where the red flags have been around. They're too long. It's been around too long that these guys have not driven a series. They've not taken over a series. It gets annoying after a while. It's like we can't rely on O'Reilly now to come in and Luke Shen to win us a series. You just can't.
But
they can chip in, Mike. They can chip in like Nick Paul did. But at the end of the day, Vasilevsky was a big difference in that series. When he got the game 5, remember, they didn't have Point, right? They lost one of their best players, and they still couldn't beat them. Like, fuck, smell blood and go after it. And that's what I mean. They don't have that killer instinct like McKinnon has, like Crosby has. They just don't have it. You see that the Oilers kind of have that now, right? We've seen a bit of that, and it's getting better. And now they add Ekholm. And you can see that team has gotten better. They've taken those steps. This team has not even taken they haven't even opened the door to take a step. They're still locked inside. We don't know what these guys are all about yet, if they can go far or not, because they can't get past the first round.
Well,
and that's worrisome.
O'Reilly is a good addition, though, because he's going to have that leadership. And maybe he's the guy that gets in someone's face. Maybe that's what it's going to take. And we talked about this before. He now has help. He has Giordano. I think Giordano would be vocal. And I think
he was there last year, too.
And I'm even going to, yeah, I know, but now you got a bunch of them. Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, Tavares is quiet, but I don't think Tavares would be quiet if he had a couple of voices alongside of him. That's what I think about Tavares.
I mean, we
maybe
don't know
I'm wrong.
Sure,
we don't know what's going on in the dressing room, but he's a captain for a reason. Like, what's the point of being a captain if you don't say anything? You got to say something. Come on.
Well, some guys are captain because they just lead by example, right? That's what they are, and that's what he is. He's a professional.
What's the example?
That was a reasoning behind Babcock's decision. Like, he literally said that Tavares comes to the ring, he goes to work, goes to work, and he works the right way, and he puts in the work in practice, and he goes to work, and like that's pretty much it. Because at the time, did they have as an option? Right? They had two kids, and Mitchie and Matthews.
I would have given it to Matthews.
And they weren't ready. So
I think Matthews would have got it. I think wasn't that the summer that he mooned? He mooned somebody.
Yep.
Captain Underpants summer. Yep.
Captain Underpants. Yeah, that probably cost him. I would have maybe held off at signing a captain. I think Matthews would have been the better captain, but that's ancient history now. Well, I mean, I suppose that you could always make a change, but not now, not before a playoff anyway.
No, he'll be gone soon anyways, so it doesn't matter.
Who?
Tavares.
Come on.
Oh, Tavares. He's got 2 more years, but.
Yeah, but Tavares, if he stays, it'll be at a much reduced rate, and like this is going to be Matthews' team, like moving forward. Like if it isn't already, right? Like you can have a captain on your team and you still not, like, you know what I mean?
I
like,
never liked that, but I understand. I never liked that though, because I think that creates like those separations in the room where some guys are following one guy and the other guys are following the other guy. That's the way I see it.
But Mike, you would think that everyone thinks McKinnon is the captain, but he's not.
No, he's not.
Like you think of Colorado, you think it's McKinnon. He's the leader. You know what I mean? I know, but people like us know. But when you think about Colorado, your first thought is McKinnon, right? You never say Landeskog. He drives that team, but at the end of the day, I think it should move over to Matthews, but it has to come with obviously an extension of his contract. That's the first step.
I think if you ask McKinnon, he would be the first guy to say, like he understands why Landeskog is the captain. He doesn't. I don't think he has any animosity toward Landeskog
No. I don't think
No,
so
not
either.
at all.
because
But when we
he
think
knows
about
that.
Colorado, we think about him and McCarr first, right? As the guys that
Well,
drive that team.
I understand, but Landeskog is like the heart, right? Like McKinnon he is the horse. I would say he carries the load offensively, no doubt about it. Him and Makar, no doubt about it. But Landeskog will do anything for anybody. He'll stick up for teammates. He'll chip in
Yeah.
offensively. So, and I've seen like the guy can fight. He drops the gloves, and I know that sounds like such a caveman thing to say, where you're like, oh yeah, the guy's got to fight to be your captain, but it does make a difference, man. Like when you stand up for teammates, it's almost like Captain America, like that guy, he's gonna fight for anybody. So that that's really the way I see a Landeskog. And do the Leafs have that type? I don't know. O'Reilly is kind of like that, I guess. I don't know.
O'Reilly's
Maybe
also
I'm
33, 32 years old. He's not the same O'Reilly. He's just not. He'll have spurts, but how could he come in and take over this team? He just got here. You know what I mean?
It's
What
true.
has
Is he
he
back
done?
yet? Is he back yet?
yeah. He
He's
think
returns
playing
tonight.
actually his
He's
first
back
game.
tonight. Yeah.
Night, eh?
Oh, you got to come
Well,
back sooner or later.
It's okay. Well, at the end of the day, they got more pieces than ever. But the thing is, like you guys, you touched on it earlier about cheering for a team that you don't believe in their path or their decision making and stuff. That's basically what Dave and I've been going through for the past couple of years, in a nutshell, right? Like, we've been crying, begging, and pleading for some balance on this team, and they do it year what 4 at the deadline. All of a sudden, they decide to move heaven and earth and all their draft picks and etc. Like, what were you doing this whole time? Like, how do you change your philosophy like that? Like, monumental shift just out of nowhere. Like that to me is laughable. But at the end of the day, you got to look at it in a positive way, and
Yeah, they did
at
it.
least we got some,
Yeah, they
right?
did it.
We got some now, and like there, you can complain all you want, but if the movement is heading to the direction that you want, you got to look at that as a win.
It's
So
true.
we shall see.
It's better than having Malgin, eh, Dave? Come on. You
oh god.
you could have Malgin playing. At least now you got Ryan O'Reilly, you got Achari. I think that the Leafs added, who's the defenseman they got?
Yeah,
Who's the
and even Giancarlo's guy Lafferty,
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to admit, like I didn't see enough of him to have an opinion, but the more I see of him, he's nothing special, but he's got a little jam to him.
Yeah.
Like he skates really fast. Like I know the comparison people say like a little bit like a Kerfoot. He just skates around and doesn't really do anything. But no, he actually has some jam to him. He has some purpose to his game. I like Lafferty. Like he's nothing crazy, but he's a very good bottom six player.
He's a very likable player, and
Yeah.
it's hard to point out anything wrong that he does because he's
works
not gonna,
hard.
as long as you don't put him in those positions though. Like you can't go putting him on the first line, but he's perfect on the bottom six. Fantastic.
And he's
bottom
making
six.
$1 million. So if you ask me, this is money well spent for a guy that he scored 10 goals for the Hawks last year in 51 games. So this is pretty good return on investment for $1 million, and especially if you're saying that he's sticking his nose in there, right? That's what you want from a guy that's making $1
100%.
million.
He's the guy that laid that hit, right?
If you've ever played hockey and you played on defense, you hate when guys are coming after you, relentless after the puck, and you got to make quick decisions. You don't like that. No matter even in soccer, if you're a defense, you don't like when people are pressuring you. You want to get rid of that ball or puck as soon as possible.
Yeah, because that's how turnovers happen.
Yeah,
right?
and to finally have guys like that, it's like Giancarlo, like Tommaso said, what took these guys so long? It just frustrates everybody in this fan base. Like Luke Shen, he's hitting everything. It took you this long to realize we need a Luke Shen who are not $10 million players. That's the other thing. It's like we can't get a Makar. You don't need a Makar. You need guys that take care of their own end, and that's what's cost them so many times. Like Dermott with his spinorama giveaways, and come on, these are stupid plays.
But to Tommaso's point, they did it, Dave. So you gotta be. I know that it's tough to be optimistic because you still have that fear that, not fear. You still have that you're gonna say they've shown me nothing in 4 years or however many years you've been expecting them to. Even though I would say nothing is not exactly true, it's just they haven't been able to get you over the hump. Maybe now with these additions, they will, right? Because I think we've talked about this before. The core should be leading you, but it's really everybody that needs to contribute. So, um, in the past that I've seen the Leafs, I think that when the core is not scoring, the depth guys need to. That's really not every
Name me a
series is
series where,
carried.
but name me a series where Crosby like hasn't shown up in a series. Like, you know what I mean? Like important
Well,
games, he's just invisible out there.
he
It's
hasn't.
No,
I never
it's
seen it.
happened.
Crosby
It's
hasn't
happened.
won a cup
But
in a
think about
long
his
time.
career. How many times does that happen? It can happen once in a while, yeah. But this team, the core has disappeared for 6 straight years.
Well,
It
okay.
gets a point where you say, guys,
This is where I don't know if I agree with you when you say disappeared. They
Yeah, but
haven't
who beat the
disappeared.
Leafs
I'll
last
tell
year?
I'll tell you.
Cirelli and Nick
Yeah,
Paul.
yeah,
It wasn't Kucherov. It wasn't
yeah.
But how
Stamkos.
can you win when you score one goal? They scored
Yeah.
one goal in the last 3 game sevens or 2 goals or something. How
Well,
do you win?
yeah, but
You
that's
can't
one.
win like that.
It's one game, but I understand what you're saying, Dave.
But
They
my
didn't get
point
it
is, when the
done.
chips are down, you expect a guy like Crosby and McKinnon to show up. Whether they win or lose, those guys are going to show up. This team, the core, is not showing up. They just never shown up. That game against Montreal, Game 7, if you ever want to watch a team just show no heart, you just look at that game. Just
Yeah, it
look at
was
that
a
game.
bad. It
They
was a
were
bad
they
one.
were defeated. Part of it
But it
is
was
in their head too.
0-0 like through a period and a half, if I remember correctly, and then Gallagher scored that shit goal
Yeah.
on his off wing through the legs, which was a soft goal for sure. But one goal isn't the end of the world, right? Like this is where you really got to be mentally tough and say we got to get a fucking goal. Like geez, it's I know how that feels though. I know, especially when you're playing a goalie that has been playing well. It feels like one goal is like I remember when the Canadians would play Hasek in the playoffs. Holy shit, it would be like Sabres would score one goal and it would be fuck, game's over. Like you can't, it would feel like the worst thing to possibly happen. You needed to score first to have a chance, which is such a terrible thing. It's a terrible mentality to have because I don't think it's true, but I think it's just it starts to get in your heads, right? And you really need to have that belief in yourself that you can score when you need to score, but it's tough when you're playing
That
against
was
a
that
guy.
was the Islanders 2-3 years ago when they swept Pittsburgh. Sorokin was that. You got one goal in Sorokin. It felt like you scored 10 times, but
Yeah.
the Islanders just needed to score that one goal, and then it was just defense the whole game.
Well, that's a legitimate thing. It's like anything else. If you don't have the guys to run and gun with somebody, but that's why if you have a talented team, you're gonna have to find a way to score. Like that's your
Yeah.
job. Your job is to score. So gotta find a way. If you got Austin Matthews on your team, Austin Matthews has to score. If you have Carey Price on your
100%.
team, Carey Price has to find a way to stop the puck. It's that simple.
Of course. And we said winning the cup is the toughest thing to do in all sports. So you're not going to win the cup every year. I get it. But you can't go 6 straight playoffs and not show up and not take over one series when it counts. It doesn't make sense. You can't be considered one of the stars in the league if you keep disappearing when it counts. You just can't.
Yep.
Like Ovechkin took a beating because his team always lost. He took a beat, even though he played hard. I don't think they lost just because of him. But at the end of the day, he took a beating until he won a cup.
Yeah, it's true.
And this
And
guy,
then
as
everything
probably the
changed.
most, it did. But when we used to watch those Capitals teams lose, it wasn't because Ovechkin disappeared. They just didn't. I think Mike said their philosophy changed. Like, they
Oh
didn't have
yeah.
that depth.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of Ovechkin. The Oilers don't lose because of McDavid. You know, they just don't. But the Leafs lose because their core does not show up in the big games. Now, I expect them to beat Tampa. You guys know that. I do. But if you want me to believe, you got to go and beat Boston.
Yeah,
That's
you
it.
said that before.
Attention sport card enthusiasts. Looking for a convenient and reliable way to expand your collection? Look no further than Fanatics Collectibles Canada. This online shop is your one-stop destination for all things card sports, from vintage to modern, from football to hockey to basketball and more. They even got some bench warmers. The selection is second to none, featuring rare and exclusive players from top players and teams. Whether you're a serious collector or you're just starting out, they will have something for you. And with their easy to use website and secure online checkout, You can browse and purchase cards from the comfort of your own home at any time, any day. So why wait? Visit the online shop today at www.fanaticcollectibles.com and start building the collection of your dreams. With their vast selection, unbeatable prices, and dedicated community, you're sure to have a winning experience every single time.
It's interesting because obviously the Leafs are playing Tampa. That's a foregone conclusion, but there are still so many things to be decided. I was looking at the West and that division there. What the hell division is it? Where it's 98 points apiece.
The Central.
Ridiculous.
Talking about that division. You guys didn't bring this up in the chat, and I think it's pretty massive news. Cale Makar is out indefinitely.
What?
But okay,
I didn't hear that.
I saw a report on that, but I don't think that's true, dude.
What do you mean it's not true? It's literally everywhere.
I saw one report. Oh, there it is.
The second you type his name in, all you see is that
you're
he's
right. You're
out
right.
indefinitely.
Lower body.
Aaron Helm.
Lower body.
Lower body. So
That's huge.
depending on what, that makes a humongous difference in that division. Because I think without Makar, I don't know.
I still think
Colorado
they
team
can
is still
win.
good.
I still think they can win.
Landeskog is still not back.
They won't win without Makar. No fucking way.
Not even in
just
the
makes
first
the
round.
That just
Maybe
makes
the
the
first
road
round.
easier. It just makes the road easier for Edmonton. That's all it does.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Edmonton
It
still
does,
has to
man.
go through LA, my friend.
They'll get
And
through LA.
I don't
They'll
know.
get through it.
Those guys were fighting.
We'll see about that.
Did you see that game earlier this week, Edmonton, LA? Oh my God.
Oh my God,
That's
crazy.
that's a series we need to
I'm
see.
telling you, man.
We need to see
It's
that
gonna be
series.
war.
If LA beats Vegas tonight somehow in regulation, that division's all within a point as well.
That's sick. That's crazy. Well, I guess again we talked about that on the pod last week. You're licking your lips if you want to play Seattle or Winnipeg, and I know that
Oh yeah.
Calgary's now in the conversation, but I'd
They're
rather play.
tied.
Yeah, I'd rather play
Well,
Calgary.
Seattle's gonna get Vegas or someone in that division because they're too far ahead. Seattle 5 points ahead with a couple games in hand, I think, or 1 game in hand.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
you're
see
right.
them
Seattle's
losing.
locked in there.
Yeah, Seattle's got that spot up. You're right, but who they play, it's
It would
still
be
variable.
Vegas or
Edmonton,
yeah.
or even LA potentially. They're
If
only
I'm LA, I'm
Potentially,
trying
yeah.
to get that first place. So you play Seattle,
yeah
have Vegas and Edmonton kill
each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That's
Now,
best case scenario.
now you know why those kind of teams are charging hard to the finish line because they're gonna be like, shit,
Yeah.
I don't want to play Edmonton round 1. Who wants to play
Why would
McDavid
you?
round 1? Like,
Who's in net tonight? Quick for Vegas?
let me double check.
Don't know.
I don't see
they're
LA
playing
coming
at 10
to win
then, I
that
don't know.
division. They would need Edmonton and Vegas to pretty much lose every game left to the season. I don't see that happening. Florida's got Washington, Toronto, Carolina. So you would think Florida they're in such a tough situation, but they're rolling. They're hot right now.
I'm telling you, that game against the Leafs, they were done. They were complete. They were already packing their bags, golfing. They had nothing left. Zero. Nothing. They realized, you know what, we've had a good run and we're done. And then they squeaked out a win, and now they got all momentum going now. It's
And
like,
who's in net for them? Is it still Alex Leon or whatever?
yes, it
I
is.
don't know what's going
Like,
on with
I just
Bobrovsky.
don't understand, honestly. Like, it just sometimes hockey really doesn't make sense.
No.
Like how that
Lafferty
guy
just
stringing
scored.
wins together. He's not even an NHL goalie. He's not even a backup goalie.
Speaking of Lafferty, your
Yeah,
boy
just
scored.
Did he? Not a boy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, guys like that, man. That's what you need.
Oh
These
yeah,
little-
he was somebody I didn't want to lose when they traded him, but or did they trade him or he walked? I can't remember what happened with him. I think he was traded to Chicago. Who did we get? I want to say it was part of the Nylander
Oh,
trade.
for fuck's sakes. Montreal just scored again. I fucking give up. I give up.
Well,
I give up.
the good thing about that, though, Mike, is that Arizona, because I think it's you guys against Arizona for 5th. Arizona's last 3 games are at home. Usually they win some home games, so
Yeah, they play Seattle twice and San
they
Jose?
could have clinched by then, right?
Yeah,
they
I'm
could have
fucking
clinched.
tired of this though, man. Like, just like Canadians are icing. Like, have you seen the roster these guys are putting on the ice? Like, Like
Culture, man.
I know you can't lose every game, but I really didn't want to win this one tonight. Fuck.
San Jose was creeping up to you guys too. I saw 6 points. I know it's a
Well,
lot, but
no, I don't think there was a chance to catch them. I'm still praying for just at this point you're fighting for every percentage you can, I guess, and it's just 1%, so I shouldn't be pissed off because they're going to get fifth or sixth, but it's such a tough season that you're like, okay, even if it's 1%, I'll take the 1%, you know? Like what's the point if you finish sixth last?
like this reminds you of that last game of the year. I think Tomasa would remember this. It was when Burke was still here. It was the last game of the year. The Leafs, all they had to do was lose, because I think back then the top 5 had the lottery. That's it. Only the top. You can only move up 5. So the top 5, the bottom 5, sorry, had a chance to get first overall. And boy Dever goes and scores a hat trick in the last game of the year, and they win a meaningless game, and they drop to 7th.
Yeah.
So
Ah.
Players and GM are on like you can't do anything. They still want to go out there and play, right? So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I understand. I do. It's just tough when you
I think the Habs are going to battle Mike next year. They're going to be battling with
Oh, I know,
Ottawa
but
as a,
I know they
will.
will, but I just want to to see their statistical chances improve the best. I
I get it.
this
I
this
get it.
lottery is in this offseason is going to be pivotal for them. I know we talked about it at the beginning of the season. So you really want to see the best chance that they can get. And I think that now if the worst they can get I guess is sixth. Is that true or seventh?
Unless they drop to 6th.
So
Yeah,
if
if
they
they
drop to 6th, 7th, Mikey, who's your guy?
I don't know,
Who's your
dude.
guy that you're looking
That's
for?
what I'm saying. I don't know. That's my point.
Oh,
Like
I see.
I don't know enough about these guys, so maybe Giancarlo can help me. But
Giancarlo, who's the center that they need?
Well,
Who's
they'll
the
probably
center
end
that's
up
available?
at that point. They'll probably end up with Will Smith.
what about that Russian? What do you
Oh,
drop?
he's got a good slap. He's got a
I
good
just
hand, you know.
I don't see him
But that's
dropping
all I
that
know
much.
about him.
I don't know. I still think
Question.
that he's gonna go in the top 3.
Michkov?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think there's a chance that he slips, and
He might slip.
that's tough.
Minnesota might have just lost their top center.
What happened?
What?
Eriksson Ek, he just was in an awkward position and he went to block a point shot and it kind of hit his ankle funny and
Oh,
he
my
was
goodness.
screaming in pain and he left the ice.
Oh, he got hit on the ankle. I'll be fine.
Just put some ice on it.
Yeah, rub some dirt.
Kaprizov is supposed to be coming
rub some
back
dirt
too.
on it, he'll be fine.
Road keeps getting easier for Edmonton.
I'm telling you, these last couple games, the worst thing is just hoping everyone stays healthy. That's it. Like you got nothing else to look forward to. Just like you almost want to get it over with because these are when stupid injuries happen. You know?
But Minnie's playing for
I
first.
remember those days.
Yeah. Well,
Those days don't seem so far away.
So Giancarlo, is this like? I know we talked about Pittsburgh earlier, but let's go back to them. Are you? Like, they're winning 2-0 tonight. Are you? Like, if they can make the playoffs, which I think there's still a chance that they're going to make the playoffs, and let's say they end up against Carolina, what do you think? Are you like? Do they have a chance in your mind?
It's
or?
hard. I mean, like I don't know. I haven't been sold on Carolina all season. I don't think that Carolina is a good playoff team. I think they're a regular season team. So are they beatable? Yes. Does this Pittsburgh team confidently beat them? No.
No,
Can
of
they
course.
beat them? Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so then
Sure.
what would it take? I'm trying to put you in a positive mindset. What would it take for you? Like, is it just win? Like, are you happy with Pittsburgh winning, or do you want Hextall out no matter what? And if this team, let's say this team beats Carolina by some miracle, that they beat Carolina, and then let's say that the Devils upset the Rangers in the first round, and you end up playing against uh, New Jersey in the second round. Is that like? I'm not
I mean,
saying that
I would rather take the Rangers over New Jersey.
you're crazy.
Personally,
You're
but
crazy.
No.
I know you were going to say that. You'd be
New
nuts
Jersey
to say
has our
that.
number. New Jersey is one of those teams that completely counter us, and
Regular
we're not
season
going to do
maybe.
good.
Regular
Yeah,
season
I
maybe.
mean, sure,
I
it
don't
might
know, man.
change in the playoffs, but I just think that they're one of those teams that kind of counter us, and
I don't know.
I just want to stay clear.
You and the
New
Rangers, eh?
Jersey.
You're like a glutton for punishment. You
Well,
just think
because the Rangers are beatable. They're not unbeatable. We beat them last year. It just
What?
fell apart at the end.
What are we
We
talking?
were up 3-1 in the series.
No, you didn't
and
beat them
There
though.
was no reason to lose that series. So they don't cheap shot Crosby,
Yeah,
then
but
the
you
series is
lost
over.
the
You
series.
lost though.
That's all there
They
is
cheap
to
shot,
it.
yeah, they cheap shot Crosby, then they won the series.
yeah,
sure,
what's
but
gonna
they
happen?
weren't the better team. They weren't the better team. Is my point.
Oh my goodness, you're
If-
gonna pull one of those from me. Yeah, okay. Well, I understand what you're saying. That
They're
happens
not.
all the time.
They weren't though. I mean, it's kind of common sense. Sure, did they get the win? But not always the best team wins. And I
Yeah,
think you can.
of
You
course.
definitely know that because Montreal made a finals recently.
Yeah, and I can tell you that when Montreal played Washington that year, they weren't the better team. And I can tell you that when Montreal played Pittsburgh that year, they weren't the better team, but they won, right? So it's especially in a 7-game series, it's hard to not.
I'm just saying that I would rather play the Rangers because they're beatable for Pittsburgh, whereas New Jersey wouldn't be beatable. I think New Jersey will run us over.
I see.
They're
You're
just
saying
a counter.
so matchups
That-
do
that-
matter.
that was the
Matchups
point.
matter.
Yeah.
Matchups
Yeah, that
matter.
was the
like you
point I was
say.
trying to
Yeah.
get across.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hear you.
So I mean, if we end up, I don't know, if we make it to the second round against the Rangers or the Devils, whatever. Even hypothetically, if they were to beat them, I still have Toronto coming out of the East, and I don't think Pittsburgh can compete with Toronto. This year.
I think if Toronto plays Pittsburgh in the semifinals, like I think that's a toss up, but I think Toronto would win that. But
Toronto
but-
should win.
Wait a
If
minute.
you're-
You said Toronto's coming out of the East.
That's
They're
what
going to
he-
the finals.
that's what he said.
That's what I have. I got
Yeah.
a Toronto Minnesota final.
Giancarlo's
Oh,
been
my-
stated numerous times that he's got Leafs winning the cup, but he kind of backtracked on that after he realized that Minnie
Had more
has more
pens.
Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Penguins.
Yeah.
Oh, because
So-
of this theory.
It's all
Hey,
based on
You
that.
got to pick a theory and run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the theory is the Leafs don't win in the playoffs. That's the theory.
I don't
Oh,
know.
man.
I think that Pittsburgh is one of those teams where they're built with that core the way it is, and I know that it's probably a remote possibility that it happens, but if it happens, would it surprise you? That's the way I look at it. It's like, would you be surprised if Pittsburgh somehow put it together and Crosby played it?
No.
Yeah, you
You
wouldn't.
got Sidney Crosby,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
I would
they
be
could go
surprised.
and they can go to the finals, and I'd be like, okay, they have an excellent coach. They got those stars. Like anything can happen in the playoffs, and when you got a guy named Sidney Crosby, he's got that X factor. Why not?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No, it's,
they won
it's, it's
they won the
definitely
Stanley
possible.
Cup with like no defense. Remember, with like Hainsey on your first pair. So like they can do it. They got the horses.
They were
Just-
also young guys, but they were younger.
Sure.
Well, it's not
That's
even
true.
the age. It's just that we had a goalie that knew how to save a puck.
Well, that
so-
too. You guys are not even in a playoff spot right now. So
that's my point. I mean, I guess technically we are because if the scores were to end the way they are,
it's the
the
Islanders.
Islanders are tied, right?
So who's hoping they don't make it? Is it Detroit? Does Detroit have their pick from Vancouver?
The Islanders pick? Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, good for Eisman.
I
What a
know we
great-
got a lot of Leaf news all the time, but just one little quick tidbit that also Giancarlo's down his little alley. NCAA action. Matthew Knies is going to the finals, so
Oh,
they play
boy.
on Saturday. They won tonight 4-2 this afternoon at 5 o'clock.
The NCAA is getting better, but it's still not at that level. For me personally, from when I watched him play, there are a lot of little guys there. Knies looks like a giant over there.
Yeah.
Even Hudson looks a normal size.
Yeah, he's
But
not.
you-
you
But
got
you
to-
think, what would you say is better?
What do you
I
mean?
mean, the O is still the benchmark. I mean,
Yuck. No
come
way.
on.
No.
Wait a minute. Between the Western Hockey
Honestly,
League,
I'll be honest with you. I'm hardly putting any
It's a different
Canada
game.
development system. If they're barely holding on to the third
It's
spot for me.
but the age of these guys is so different. It's night and day. It's night and
Yeah.
day. Like you're playing, they're literally using the NCAA and they're as the American Hockey League, right? Like when a guy gets drafted to the OHL, usually they're coming to the NHL
2 years.
probably when they're 20 or they're in the American Hockey League. I think the development route through the NCAA is seemingly better, what I've been seeing, but because just looking at a guy like Caulfield, perfect example. Caulfield's drafted in the first round. They left him in the NCAA, let him go and score a lot of goals, and he comes in when he's 21 years old, right? A guy
Yeah.
like Slavkovsky comes in 18 years old, 19 years old, right in the
Yeah.
NHL. I'm sorry, that's crazy. It's crazy to do.
Well,
But
even
we
Shane
called that
Wright.
from the
When you look at
beginning,
Shane Wright,
remember?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not everybody can play in the NHL at that age. So I'm and like it comes down to what would be a better development, and this is where it comes down to, Dave. You would prefer a guy to develop in the Ontario Hockey League versus develop in the NCAA, I guess. I don't know. I like just look at some of the recent guys that have been coming out from the NCAA. There've been quite a few good players. Like I think Jack Hughes was one of them. Was Boldy one too?
I think
Boldy,
so.
yeah.
But to Giancarlo's point, NCAA is a higher standard of hockey currently. Like
Yeah.
if you talk to any GM, coach, whatever, who's looking scouts, NCAA has a higher brand of hockey
Yeah.
than OHL, and it's not even close. So,
Yeah.
is it based upon what Grimaldi's saying? 100%. I think the age definitely factors in, but NCAA has a really good thing going right now.
Yeah, it looks
Well, you
like
got to
it.
remember, they also have a ton more money than like the OHL, and the lure of players is becoming greater and greater every year to bring in these kids. Like if you have a choice to go to NCAA or go to OHL, why would you go to OHL anymore? Like
Yeah.
everyone that you talk to, like especially as a parent, let them go to NCAA, go get your education,
Yeah.
plus have a really excellent program for you
It's
to
true.
succeed. Why would you just go to OHL? Like it makes no sense.
Yeah, you nailed it. Even the players that don't end up becoming hockey players, they end up getting some sort of degree or something. And
Oh, they do. They do. But when you look at the best players in the game, they usually don't come from NCAA.
It's true, but I think it is changing a little bit.
it's
Like
Well, they're
changing.
Oh,
coming.
yes,
a
it is
little bit.
changing. But I'm saying that I don't put too much stock into that
I hear you.
yet. But they have they've gotten way better. I mean, Acton Reese was the leading scorer once. Bozak was one of the top scorers once. I mean, they're good players, but they're not
No, I hear you.
guys
But
you build
you're
around,
looking
right?
you're also naming guys that are probably like 8 years or 10 years removed from their college days. It has changed a little
Oh, yeah,
bit.
it's, I mean, it's changing.
Yeah.
Yes, like Caulfield was one of the few guys that's come up and made an impact, and even he didn't make like. I think he scored he scored 3 goals in the playoffs, which is considered a success. But I'm saying
Yeah.
that's what the standard is now. If you can do what he did, so that's why I'm not expecting Knies. Everyone's expecting this kid to come up and do this. They got to just calm down a bit, man. We haven't even watched this kid play a full shift.
If it was the year that Bozak was dominating the NCAA, then I would agree with you. But Knies is going to be the real deal. He really
We'll
is going
see.
to be the
He's
real
playing.
deal.
He's playing with those two guys.
It's
Many say he's the third best player on that line.
it's
So
gonna really come
Yes,
down to how
and
well
then
he
you go to
uses.
Toronto
Yeah,
and play with Tavares and
please,
Marner.
it's true.
you
I
guys.
don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
I think it's
I
gonna
don't
come
know.
down to how well he uses his body. He's a big guy,
Eh,
and you're playing against little dudes,
Yep. Yep.
and you are used to shielding the puck, and there's a level of strength that you're using when you're shielding the puck and winning battles that he's gonna have to. Like I don't know. I don't watch this guy. You tell me. Does he
Mikey,
run
you
guys
know who's
over?
the options? Michael Bunting, 4'3", useless pest,
Yeah.
and Kerfoot, who does absolutely nothing. No physical presence, no nothing, no forecheck. Matthew Knies doesn't have a high level to get to.
No,
If
I
he's
know.
just competent, he can be a top six player on this
It's
team.
true, but there's a level of experience too. You can't expect a guy to come in
Sure.
like I hear what Dave is saying. You got to lower your expectations a little bit. Don't be disappointed if it's gonna take like from a timing perspective. Like even a guy like Sean Farrell, I know that they're completely different players. Okay, I watched Sean Farrell come in. He dominated in Harvard. He played for Harvard, I think, this year, and he comes into Montreal, and you watch highlights of him in the NCAA. And yeah, the kid looks great. He looks amazing. And then he comes to the NHL, and I got news for you. Like you're a second and a half
Men.
behind every play.
You're playing with men.
You're no longer carrying the puck like you had. Like you are a day late and a dollar short on every single play. Every single play.
The speed is just different.
It's
just
different.
it's night and day.
But,
It
man.
is.
but who's expecting him to be?
Well, listen to the media,
Look,
man. Just listen to the
oh,
fans.
come on! Like, don't listen to them. That's
Oh,
not
yeah.
realistic. That's why this is called.
Okay,
You
so
know,
then
like,
what do you
we're
expect?
real fanatics.
Okay, so what
We
do you
know
expect?
hockey,
Okay, so
right?
while we're on the subject, what do you expect from him? Like, be honest. What do you expect from him? What is
He's gonna
good?
bring energy.
I
He can
really
be a-
don't think he's going to play. You're talking
I-
about this playoff?
Oh,
I
he's
don't know
gonna
if he's
play.
going to play.
1000%,
He-
Dave.
In the
1000%.
He's
playoffs?
playing.
Yes,
In
yes,
the
yes.
playoffs?
Yes,
I
yes,
think
yes.
he comes in if they're coming off a loss, there's an injury, someone's having a bad game or two. How do you sit Aston Reese now? You can't. Who's going to sit? I'm just trying to
Kerfoot.
figure out a place where to put Kerfoot's not going to sit. This guy fucking loves him. We talked about coaches who are so loyal to these guys, and he's one of them.
Ah, man.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to see him play. He's going to play the last 2-3 games of the season for sure, and see,
It
if he
might
can
be
keep
Michael
up.
Bunting. It might be Bunting who says this.
I don't know, man.
Because like the way that his season's been going, Bunting's been doing really poorly, and the way that he can't buy a call and he's getting nothing but calls against, there might be a chance that, like, if it would be me, it'd be Kerfoot and there'd be no questions. No
Not gonna
questions.
happen. It's
It'll
not gonna
never
happen.
happen. They're never going to happen. Keith loves them too much. Even though, again, tonight, another dumb penalty in the offensive zone by Kerfoot. It just, he never learns, but we'll just forget about that for now.
You're
Like,
not bringing Knies to play in the fourth line. He's not coming here to play in the fourth line.
No,
So I don't
no,
know.
no,
where
no.
you-
but he could make a difference, I think. He just, like I said, our
why not?
left side is so weak.
Why not
that-
play on the fourth line, Dave? Like, I hear what you're saying.
No. So because the fourth line consists of right now Camp, Lafferty, and Zach Aston Reese, and that line is doing really well together.
Mhm.
You don't want to touch it because they're finally starting to develop some chemistry.
So who's on the third line?
The third line is a mixed mash right now. Like it's there
Achari?
now. Riley's back, so Riley's there with Achari and Kerfoot.
I get Kerfoot's got to go. I'm sorry. If you got, because that's perfect. If you
July
put
1st.
if you put
We've been saying
Knies
that for 4 years.
if you put Knies with O'Reilly, that's perfect. I'm sorry, it's perfect. Like that, those guys would win battles.
That
And-
sort of makes sense. Unless O'Reilly's going on the second line, then that changes everything, right?
Yeah, sure, but I would still put Riley on the third line. Yeah, you can call it a third line. That's not a third line for me. So, especially if you're looking at creating a mismatch, right? Like when you're playing against another matchup on the other team, like if O'Reilly's playing against the Tampa bottom six, like that's going to be a better matchup for him, right?
Guys, at the end of
about
the day,
it, though.
that's good to have in your pocket that you can slot him
Yeah.
in if there's an injury or someone's not playing well, or you never know, suspension, who knows, right? So
But how much of a better situation can you do? Like you got a Riley and a Chari as your line mates. He doesn't need to carry anything. Those two veterans will be there to teach him. Like he just needs to play his game. And I think that line would be like amazing.
Yeah.
You just need to wear down the other team. That's the type of playoff hockey you need, right? Like
We'll
I
see.
wouldn't throw him directly into the first line with Matthews or anything. Like right now, Matthews is playing with Bunting and Yarncroc. That's our first line right now, okay?
Mhm.
Second line is William Nylander, John Tavares, and Mitch Marner. This is our coach, ladies and gentlemen. Like this is what, like I don't know. I give up. Like obviously this is not going to be the first day of the playoff lineup, but I don't know. We'll
I
see.
guess it remains to be seen where Knies plays. I think that this is going to be coming into a perfect situation to slot him into a lineup that is deep and has some leadership. And you don't want to throw him into the deep end, but put him with a veteran like Ryan O'Reilly. I think you're doing all right. So that's the way I would see it. So, and he's got some size. It's not like you're throwing him to the wolves.
No, he's fine.
And Tampa's not a team that's going to come kill you. So I think that if you no better time than the present, and it's no shame if you put him in and it doesn't work and he needs to sit. That's okay. It's not a big deal. Like it's not like sink or swim kind of thing. But I would give him a taste, sure. That's so much.
He
Like
will.
it worked.
He'll get his chance.
He's
But
a
I'm not
Well,
gonna. The expectations are low for me right now. I
Yeah.
can't. I'm
And
not
it-
expecting him to
and
make any kind of impact.
so Giancarlo, like what kind of a he's a big dude. So if you were to compare him to somebody in the NHL today, who would you say?
I would take Tommaso's advice over that one over mine because I think he's probably paid a little more attention to him.
I'm trying to get an unbiased answer because I think
I'm
Tommaso's
not
gonna say,
biased.
okay,
I'm
so
not biased at
okay,
all.
so if
You
today,
can hear me
uh,
how I critique Leaf
I
players.
Cur-
kind of see him. I kind of see him a little bit like a Blake Wheeler, if I'm being honest. A
okay,
little bit like a Blake Wheeler.
okay,
'Cause
okay.
he's got the offensive, like he can score 30 goals easily. Like he's got the shot. I think Blake Wheeler has a pretty good shot. Obviously I'm talking about a younger Blake Wheeler, not
Sure,
the
sure,
Blake
sure.
Wheeler
Of course, of course,
that's
of course.
skating today.
Right. And Tommaso, who would you say if you had to compare him to somebody today in the NHL today? I'm not talking about past. Is he
We
thinking?
lose Tomas.
I think we
No,
lost.
I'm just trying to think of someone.
He's
So
that great, eh?
no, he's not. Like
I know
so
who he compared him
he's
to
got good
before,
hands.
and that's why I'm like,
He's a decent skater, right? He's not he's not an excellent above average skater, but for a big man, he
yeah, he
moves.
skates well. Yeah,
He's got an excellent work ethic. He's got like good hands down low. I love the fact that he's a net front presence for the power play because that's desperately what this Leaf team needs. Just a big body that can screen the goalie and he can do his little tips. That's perfect for what we need right now. I can't think of someone that right now, like the guy that reminds me is kind of like John LeClair.
I knew you said
old
that, but I
days.
don't want to hear you say John LeClair. That's why I
No,
didn't
but
ask
like
you.
obviously that's like a
John
like
LeClair's a
if
50
everything
goal
goes
man.
well.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
like,
Yeah, that's why.
Do you have an Eric
that's his
Lindros?
ceiling.
Do you have an Eric
His
Lindros on your
ceiling.
team? No, even with I don't even think there's such a thing. Eric Lindros doesn't play anymore. That's why John LeClair was a 50 goal man. So I like Johnny, okay, but he was a product of Eric. So that's where I would say I don't think that's fair. Like to say John LeClair, that guy's 50 goals. You're power forward scoring 50 goals. I don't think we've seen that since him, right?
Okay, but find me a power forward in 2023
But
right
that's
now
what
in
I'm
the
trying to.
NHL.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Like
I
he's
don't
not
think.
Brady Kachuk. He's not. Like
So-
who else
Kinda
is
why
there?
that's why I said Blake Wheeler.
Okay,
because
Brady
that's
Kachuk.
kinda-
Brady Kachuk. If he turns into a
No.
Brady Kachuk, you're doing all right. Why is he not?
No,
Brady
no,
Kachuk?
he's no Brady
he's not.
Kachuk.
He's
No.
not Brady Kachuk.
He's not this tough guy that will fight for you, the captain.
Brady
no,
Kachuk
he's
scored.
not that.
I think he scored like 8 goals in the NCAA in his
He
draft
has
year.
the offensive upside of Brady Kachuk, but he's not Brady Kachuk. It's
No,
what
Come
Tommaso
on,
just
man.
said. He's
No
not
way.
he's not gonna finish 100 hits. He's not gonna fight every opportunity he gets. He's not gonna be a pest. Like he's not
Maybe
Brady
Anders
Kachuk.
Lee. Anders Lee for the Islanders.
Okay.
Maybe a more realistic option.
Okay.
Anders Lee is like, like he's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
big
yeah.
guy,
I can see it. I can see it. And
power play guy.
yeah, I like it.
Like that's to me is like a speaking of Islanders. they're winning
6'3".
1-0.
Winning.
Yeah, I saw.
He's
Oh, wait,
6'3".
6'3"?
Yeah, Andersley is 6'3".
Yeah, he's
Oh, he's
no. Knies
man.
is 6'3" as
I
well.
thought you
isn't
said the Islanders are winning 6-3.
No,
I'm like,
no,
oh,
no.
how did they
No,
score
Islanders are
6
winning
goals?
1-0.
No,
Giancarlo almost had a heart attack.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
guys,
at.
Why are you rooting
If you-
against the Islanders, man?
No,
I'm
you
because
guys-
the
cheering for
Panthers are
Pittsburgh.
winning 5-1.
Yeah, if you get a
And
chance,
I
please
also, and
watch
I
the
also
highlights.
hate the Islanders.
Guys, you got to
Okay.
watch the highlights of the Ottawa Florida game.
Oh, you
Chuck
did?
knocked out the Brinkett with a hit. I guess he got a concussion because he was down while everyone was fighting. Chuck on the fight, the brothers, they were fighting one. I can't remember who they were fighting, but Chuck on the fight, Brady got the fight. It was a fight-filled fest in the second period. I got to watch that again.
Nice.
But the Brinkett is out like a light.
He's out cold.
Ouch.
Sorry?
He's out cold.
Yeah,
He
knocked
him
out.
out cold.
Oh,
But
that's
then
not good.
he got up and they took him off, but he was out while they were all fighting around him.
But that's
Oh,
what I
man,
mean. Like
that's not good.
Ottawa is not going to be like those last couple games of the season. They're a pain in the butt. You never want to see
he's not.
someone.
It looks like he's.
in
Yeah,
that much trouble.
I hate it. I admit it's a weak spot for me when I see a guy. He wasn't out cold though, Dave. He got it's a bad hit. The worst is when you see like a Trevor Letowski. I don't know if you remember. Who was the dude that used to play for? Oh, he was a Team Canada junior kid. I can't remember his name. He used to get suspended like crazy. Was it Aaron Downey? Is that a guy? Steve Downey?
That sounds
Eric
familiar.
Downey.
Steve
Steve
Downey.
Downey.
Steve Downey. Oh my God, he killed Trevor Letowski one year. Just murdered him. And it was like the guy's out in the air. Like he's not even didn't even touch the
Yeah.
ice. He was out. And then even Montreal when they played against Winnipeg when Scheifele killed Jake Evans that year. Oh my God, that just it made me sick to my stomach to watch because the kid he was going for an empty net goal and Scheifele just finished that check so hard, right? And you knew it was going to be bad news when I saw it happening. It's when you see it in slow motion, you're like, no, and then all of a sudden, boom, and it's like, oh, it's the worst. I never like seeing guys get knocked out like that. It's the worst.
But are you like, is the issue with this is that he got like knocked out, he got hit like that? Because I've watched it hit like 20 times now. I don't have an issue with it.
You're talking about DeBrincat?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't like the hit. I'm saying I don't like the result.
The result. Okay.
Yeah, I
'Cause
never
was
like seeing
confused.
guys get hurt. No, I don't like seeing guys
It was
get
a
hurt.
beautiful hit. I would have 20 guys in Pittsburgh doing that hit if I could.
Yeah. Well, it's hockey. It's never a friendly
It was a
sport.
beautiful hit.
Hits are
Clean.
part of the game.
It's a little bit high.
2-0
Yeah,
Islanders. 3-0.
Yeah,
Oh,
he stepped.
come
He
3-0.
stepped up.
All right, so the Islanders win. All three teams might win tonight. Wonderful.
Nashville's winning as well.
I was gonna say those guys are not gonna be 1 point behind with a game in hand, and they play Winnipeg and Calgary. Buckle up there.